it's Kari here. I hope you're all staying safe and you're all healthy. So this week's occupational therapy activity that I wanted to focus on with all of you is scissor cutting. Because I know that the information that you're getting for speech and OT as far as groups, it involves a lot of cutting with scissors. So I want to make sure that if you are working on cutting at home with your children, that you're doing it the correct way. So I just wanted to share some things with you that you can do with your child at home that is safe and correct, okay? So first and foremost, though, before even beginning to work with scissors, we want to make sure that our children and students are interested in scissors. We have some kids that are afraid of them, and certainly we do not want to force scissor cutting on any of our kiddos. So first and foremost, we have to determine whether or not our students are interested in cutting with scissors, okay? And then the next thing is we want to make sure that they have the underlying skills that you need in order to work with scissors and cutting, okay? The first being just generalized hand strength, okay? So being able to hold the scissors and opening and closing them, that's important. So that's why we need to work on hand strengthening, and some of the videos I've said previous help to work on that. And secondly, again, I mentioned this just a second ago, is just the idea that kids can open and close or open and shut, whatever you prefer to use, okay? So hand strength and just generalized skills, opening and closing, okay? The other thing, first and foremost, too, when we start with scissors, we want to have the correct hand placement of scissors. So you always want to make sure that when using scissors, and I forgot to mention too, when you are using scissors with your students at home, make sure that they're child-sized scissors, and you want to make sure that the edges are the blunt edges. Unfortunately, these I have are pointy, but that's okay. But the reason I want them blunt is just for safety purposes, okay? So make sure that they're child-sized and that the tip is blunt, okay? So back to hand placement. What you want to make sure to do is you always want to make sure that the thumb is on top, okay? And then the other fingers are on the bottom. So thumb always on top, the other fingers at the bottom. The other thing is you want to make sure that the shoulder and the elbow are tucked in at the side, okay? I don't want any winging of the elbow. I want them tucked in here at the side, okay? This just helps with stabilization when cutting. Now, one of the things that you can do to make sure that your children have their thumbs up, you can put a sticker or some kind of mark on their thumb. I could say even like a smiley face that says, okay, make sure the scissors are smiling at you, make sure your thumb is smiling at you, so that they know that the thumb is up. A lot of our students want to cut like this to start off, okay? Which, of course, is unsafe. This is how we want them, okay? Thumb up, shoulder, elbow tucked in. If you have to sit behind them for safety purposes, by all means, make sure you're sitting behind them to help them out, okay? So, and again, using the sticker or something on your thumb. At school, I've even taken like a little eyeball and put it on the top of the scissor where the thumb goes to say, okay, make sure the scissors are looking at you, okay? So just some creative ways to make sure that you're making sure that the scissors are placed correctly in your child's hands, okay? So, how I usually start off with scissor cutting is I will start with Play-Doh, because of course we know Play-Doh is motivating and it's fun for our kiddos. So what I do is start off with just a snake, and I just kind of roll a snake out. Again, using both hands, that bilateral hand coordination. Okay, so rolling out the snake. Then they have to use their supportive hand, or you can hold the Play-Doh. It's up to you, wherever the level that they're at. And you hold the Play-Doh, and you just work on snipping the Play-Doh, okay? And you want to emphasize the open and close. Open, shut, or open, close, okay? So make sure that you say that as the kids are doing it so that they can understand what you're asking them to do, okay? So they just snip the Play-Doh, okay? So you can do anything. You can even combine the Play-Doh here, make it a little harder, and they can just make different snips with the Play-Doh. And it's fun and it's motivating and pretty easy to do. Okay? So that's how I typically start with scissor cutting, is I use the Play-Doh. Now, the next thing that you can do, next step, is you can use either heavier paper. Here I used a paper plate because it's a little bit more stable to use. We're working with scissors, because using the flimsier paper, this flimsier paper, it's not easy to stabilize. So that's why we say start with heavy construction paper or cardstock, and here I used a paper plate. So what we're going to do, and I've marked it, as you see here, I put lines on the plate, because what we want to work on next, after the open and shut and the Play-Doh, now I want them to work on snipping, okay? So, again, you want to position the scissors in the hands correctly, and I drew the lines, and then you have them work on, okay, snipping. Okay, the other thing they're doing too here is stabilizing with that opposite hand, and they're working on that motion of having to turn the paper. For a lot of our students, it's very difficult for them. Okay, so that's one reason why I've chosen the paper plate. It's a lot easier for our students to actually stabilize. Okay, so just working on snipping. Once they've actually worked on the snipping part, the next thing that you can have them do is you can actually have them cut across a line here on the paper plate. Okay, so just taking, and when you get to this point, what you want to emphasize is you want to emphasize pushing the scissors and pulling the plate. Okay, so push the scissors and pull the plate towards you, okay, as you cut across. Okay, just like that. Okay? So, once we've gotten the snipping part down, next thing you can do, like I said, you can just use regular construction paper, okay? And just have the kids, they don't have to cut on a line. They can just work on just cutting across a piece of paper, okay? So, just like this, again, emphasize that push and pull, okay? And just have them cut across the paper. Any which way they want, doesn't matter, however they want to do it, okay? But again, it just works on cutting across and going straight across, okay? Once they've done that part, the next thing that you can do, you can actually move to where they cut on a line, okay? So after they've done the Play-Doh, they've cut snips, and they just practice cutting across the paper. Next thing that I would want them to do, and it's a progression, is to cut on a line, okay? So here I just drew a line and then drew a smiley face, because this is where I want them to go. Again, keeping the elbow in, thumb up, and then you just have them cut, push and pull, all the way to the smiley face. Yay! We did it. Okay? Super simple. I know it's quick, but I just wanted to make sure that I gave you some tips to use at home, because a lot of our activities involve scissor cutting with our students. So again, keep in mind and make sure that they're interested, that they're safe. That's the most important part of this whole activity, is keeping them safe. Okay, so I hope this helps, and I hope you're all doing well, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.